There's no doubt that Valheim is an amazing game already. With over 5 million copies sold in less than a month, millions of Vikings can agree. But like every early access game by definition, some parts feel unfinished or ripe for expansion. Today's video is my top 10 suggestions I hope Iron Gate Studio adds to this year's viral sensation Valheim. And if you want to see future content from the Couch Brothas, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. My name is Dylan and welcome to the couch. My first frustration playing Valheim are the water building mechanics. While it's cool that scaffolding is almost required for high structures, building in the water is annoying. It's harder to see clearly, you can't use your hammer while swimming, and getting wet compromises your stamina. Water building becomes crucial to building docks to keep your boat safe from enemies or help to build complex bridges. Rather than allowing us to use hammers in the water, which I think would be a less interesting fix, one fun way to address this problem is something straight out of Legend of Zelda, boots that help you stay on the ocean floor. The developer of Iron Gate Studio has said Zelda was a huge inspiration for the game, like in this PC Gamer article where he states, "We wanted to have more of a feeling of an old-school single-player adventure game, kind of like the older Zeldas, I guess." An item like this would fit well with the water-building mechanics of the game and also potentially contribute to fleshing out the ocean biome, which is something slated for the third of the first 4 major updates for Valheim. Something I love about Valheim are the map pins. They are extremely helpful for remembering locations of dungeons, ore deposits, or things like dragon eggs and fueling villages. What I don't like about the map pins is how they dominate the space once there are a lot of them. I've resigned to placing them without labels just to clean it up a bit. The second suggestion I hope Iron Gate does is an option to toggle map pins on and off. If one of the function buttons can be dedicated to hiding the HUD, this shouldn't be too far out of the realm of possibility. I don't want to be forced not to use a mechanic in the game, but sometimes I have to zoom out to see which islands my next adventure is taking me to. This simple change would fix a lot of headaches. Speaking of the map, my third suggestion is a more dynamic map. What I mean by this is that the map gets updated periodically whenever a significant portion of the forests have been cut down to show which areas have been clear-cut rather than reflecting the terrain the game spawned with. In addition, one of my favorite things to do is to lift the fog of war by exploring, often sailing in less convenient paths to maximize revealing the map. It would be a cool little detail if this lifting of the fog of war was reflective with things like elevation or tree lines, maybe even adding in a more passive spyglass type accessory to have more than just 2 options and uncovering the map a little bit more at a time. My fourth suggestion is a quality of life change about beehives and crops. I hate placing down beehives, checking on the bees, seeing they need more space, tearing it down, build it back up, and repeat until they have adequate room. It would be incredible to have a small circle similar to the workbench that showed exactly how much room the hives need while placing them. Similarly, crops also need enough room, but if they are too close, you either have to wait to harvest the surrounding crops or destroy it and replant, wasting a seed or crop, which can ruin farming efforts before a large enough supply has been gathered. Even something like an area of effect circle for fires would be very helpful. While there are a lot of weapons in Valheim, there are no monsters weak to slash damage. Any enemies weak to pierce are easier taken on with a bow than a spear, making the club and mace line of weapons much more viable and powerful. My fifth suggestion is about weapon balancing. Since Grey Dwarves are made of wood, making them weak to axes would make sense. Making animals weak to slash would give more of a reason to use swords. While I love me some maces, give me a reason to use other weapons without forcing a disadvantage. Even elemental weapons, of which there are a few in the game, feel underutilized or only utilized when better options are available. Sometimes in RPG adventures, especially for single players, NPCs can add a lot to the game, and Haldor the Merchant is no exception. The problem is that Haldor's wares are pretty limited, and the only items you'd need to restock are fairly cheap. Suggestion number 6 is to give more to our unsung hero Haldor. By the time I found him, I had enough gold to buy his inventory twice over and never see him again. Giving him an expanding inventory as bosses are beaten or materials are discovered gives more reason to find and sell rubies and amber, and therefore more reason to seek out and explore dungeons. More accessories, different arrows, more exclusive materials, there could be a lot more possibilities for my short king Haldor. While animals can be tamed, I've never really found much use for this. Boars are easy enough to cull into oblivion that I'm never short of raw meat or leather scraps. Locks can't yet breed, although an army of wolves does sound pretty fun. My 7th suggestion is give more reason to tame animals. Maybe boars can unearth truffles, locks can be milked, each with their own food recipes, or even add other wildlife and even more options. The first update scheduled, Hearth and Home, will apparently have more stuff to do around the home, so fingers crossed. The armor in Valheim looks incredible, but other than direct armor value upgrades, there are only 2 armor types with modifiers: Troll Hide for stealth and Wolf Armor for cold protection. My 8th suggestion is to add more unique armor modifiers and balances. Maybe craft a poison resistance armor set from Guck. Sure, it protects against poison, but is slightly less protective than iron armor. To get more use out of Serpent Scales, perhaps craft an armor set to lessen the effect or duration of being wet. An addition like this would add some thoughtfulness to which armor is used, rather than upgrades based purely on protectiveness. Also, add in some armor stands so we can display sets in an armory rather than take up space in a chest. While there are plenty of upgrades for weapons and armor, some tools remain the same the entire time, specifically the hammer, hoe, and cultivator. My 9th suggestion is to make upgradable versions of these basic yet essential tools. While they'll get the job done, it would be cool to have iron hammers or black metal hoes with better durability, less stamina drain, and so forth. While this won't significantly change gameplay, it'll be something else to sink materials into, and make uninterrupted distant base building a little less tedious. My 10th and final suggestion is to add split-screen couch co-op. Besides being the namesake of our channel, it's nice to just relax with a friend, sibling, or significant other and play together without an internet connection. The character and world creation would lend well to this, and if games like Stranded Deep or Outward can include split screen, I am confident that Valheim could too. I also feel bad showing off my constructions to my girlfriend without any way for her to play too, so please Irongate, if not for me, do it for her. And these have been 10 suggestions I hope the developers add to Valheim. I tried to avoid anything they've specifically said they'll add, like more recipes or building structures, or obvious ones like expanding the unfinished Mistlands, Ashlands, and True North biomes. There are mods that can customize your experience, which we'll look at in another video, but I personally tend to avoid any that fundamentally change mechanics and trust the developer's intended experience, especially for early access games and a game as lovingly crafted as Valheim so far. Adding anything into a game is easier said than done, and as a small studio of only 5 people, I have a lot of respect for Irongate Studio, especially in making something this incredible in these troubling times. This is also only my personal wish list of additions. If there's something you hope they add in future updates, leave it in the comments. If you want to see our future Valheim videos or any other content, give that bell icon a ring. Don't be afraid to hit subscribe and give the video a like if my suggestions resonated with you. My name is Dylan, and until next time,